Hello, my name is Cameron Brown, and I am reporting on Cameron Todd Willingham, who was convicted and executed by the state of Texas for the murder of his three daughters. On December 23, 1991, a fire erupted in a house in the small town of Corsicana, Texas. Within the house was 23-year-old Cameron Todd Willingham and his three daughters. Willingham was able to escape from the home, but was unable to reach his girls. The fire ultimately claimed the lives of his three daughters. Fire inspectors proceeded to investigate the fire, as is protocol. Their investigation discovered that not only was an accelerant material found at the site, but it was heavily concentrated within the bedroom of the girls. The accidental fire turned into a triple homicide case. Following eyewitness reports of Willingham acting erratically only after authorities arrived, and appearing to be acting differently than expected in such a tragic situation, the police looked into the only survivor of the fire as a prime suspect. Using the previously discussed evidence and new evidence that Willingham had confessed to a jailhouse informant, the prosecution moved forward, and it took only 8 months for Willingham to be convicted and sentenced to death by the state. That informant, Jonathan Webb, later recanted his statement and then recanted his recantation. Webb was reported to have been on a lot of medication and had been diagnosed with mental issues. It seemed, however, unreliable Webb's testimony was, it did irreparable harm to Willingham's case. Willingham maintained his innocence throughout his appeals and his time served on death row, and on February 13, 2004, a report was released by Dr. Gerald Hurst. The report elaborated on a series of flaws found in the initial investigation. These flaws were discovered through the use of advances in modern science and fire investigation. This report was used to appeal for a reprieve from Governor Rick Perry and/or for the parole board to commute the sentence. Neither was granted. Evidence from a respected member of the fire community who had serious background and knowledge of fires and explosives was not enough to prompt a new look into the case. That had been the final nail in the coffin for Cameron Todd Willingham. On February 17, 2004, Cameron Todd Willingham was executed by the state of Texas. It is questionable as to why a reputable report was released and none of the powers that be looked to recognize it. In August of 2005, Texas developed a forensic review commission to look into cases of this nature. In May of 2006, the Innocence Project began to look into Willingham's case. And after a long 2 years after the Innocence Project got involved, the Forensic Commission decided to hear Willingham's case. Dr. Baylor released a report on August 17, 2009. The report identified the outdated methods used in Willingham's case and how they compared to the new methods used in fire science. Dr. Baylor's report also talks about a case of Ernest Ray Willis, who had an incredibly similar case. Willis was ultimately released from prison, and Baylor highlights the poorly done fire investigation that led to the conviction of Willis. Dr. Baylor did an extensive review of the Willingham case and all of the investigative flaws that were evident after review. Days before the commission was set to hear testimony from Dr. Baylor, Governor Rick Perry reappointed the head of the commission, which subsequently canceled the hearing, and it was never rescheduled. This entire process, starting at the hasty conviction that led to continued failed appeals and ultimately a failed final attempt to use advances in science to save a possibly innocent life, all appears to look like a cover-up. Justice Scalia once said in a case opinion that there has not been a single case, not one, in which it is clear that a person was executed for a crime he did not commit. So now we are looking at a case that has built up 2 reports done by experts in their field that evidence used to convict Willingham was wrong. We have a commission that cannot seem to be able to fulfill its duties without intervention, and we have a case that could have killed an innocent man that has yet to be exposed in legal terms. What bothers me more than anything is that in April of 2011 the commission met and was set to release a report pertaining to Willingham's case, yet nothing to this day has been officially released. It is not new information that the death penalty is a hotly contested point of discussion. Both sides of the argument vehemently defend their point of view. This case, however, could have been the turning point for the discussion. Unfortunately, we may never know exactly what a group of officials actually think about this case.